The Buried Giant, Chapter 15, Part 5. The warrior remained standing over his opponent for some time, his sword held forgotten at his side, and Axel could see dark drops falling from the tip of the blade onto the soil. Beatrice pressed herself against him. "He was the she-dragon's defender," she said, "yet showed us kindness. Who knows where we'd be now without him? Axel, and I'm sorry to see him fallen." He pressed Beatrice close to him. Then, releasing her, he climbed down a little way to where he could see better Gawain's body lying on the earth. Wystan had been correct. The blood had flowed only to where the ground rose in a kind of lip at the edges of the cliff, and was pooling there with no danger of spilling over. The sight caused a melancholy to sweep over him, but also, though it was a distant and vague one, the feeling that some great anger within him had at long last been answered. "Bravo, sir," Axel called down. "Now there's nothing stands between you and the she-dragon." Wystan, who had all the while been staring down at the fallen knight, now came slowly, somewhat giddily, to the foot of the mound, and when he looked up, appeared to be in something of a dream. "I learned long ago," he said, "not to fear death as I fought, yet I thought I heard his soft tread behind me as I faced this knight. Long in years, yet he was close to getting the better of me." The warrior seemed then to notice the sword still in his hand, and it made as though to thrust it into the soft earth at the foot of the mound, but at the last moment he stopped himself, the blade almost at the soil, and straightening said, "Why clean this sword yet? Why not let this knight's blood mingle with the she-dragon's?" He came up the side of the mound, his gait still somewhat like a drunkard's. Brushing past them, he leant over the rock and gazed down into the pit, his shoulders moving with each breath. "Master Wystan," Beatrice said gently, "we're now impatient to see you slay Carrig. But will you bury the poor knight after? My husband here is weary and must save his strength for what remains of our journey." "He was a kin of the hated Arthur," Wystan said, turning to her, "yet I'll not leave him to the crows. Rest assured, mistress, I'll see to him, and may even lay him down in this pit beside the creature he so long defended." "Then hurry, sir," Beatrice said, "and finish the task, for though she's feeble, will not be easy till we know she's slain." But Wystan seemed no longer to hear her, for he was now gazing at Axel with a faraway expression. "Are you well, sir?" Axel asked eventually. "Master Axel," the warrior said, "we may not meet again, so let me ask one last time. Could you be that gentle Briton from my boyhood who once moved like a wise prince through our village, making men dream of ways to keep innocence beyond the reach of war? If you have a remembrance of it, I'll ask you to confide in me before we part." "If I was that man, sir, I see him today only through the haze of this creature's breath, and he looks a fool and a dreamer, yet one who meant well, and suffered to see solemn oaths undone in cruel slaughter. There were others spread the treaty through the Saxon villages, but if my face stirs something in you, why, suppose it was in others." "I thought it was, when first we met, sir, but I couldn't be sure. I thank you for your frankness." "Then speak frankly to me in turn, for it's a thing that shifts within me since our meeting yesterday, and perhaps in truth for far longer. This man you remember, Master Wystan, is he one of whom you would seek vengeance?" "What are you saying, husband?" Beatrice pushed forward, placing herself between Axel and the warrior. "What quarrel can there be between you and this warrior? If there is one, he'll need to strike me first." "Master Wystan talks of a skin I shed before we two ever met, princess. One I hoped that I had long crumbled on the forgotten path." Then to Wystan, "What do you say, sir? Your sword still drips. If it's vengeance you crave, it's a thing easily found, though I beg you to protect my dear wife who trembles for me." "The man was one I once adored from afar, and it's true there were times later I wished him cruelly punished for his part in the betrayal. Yet I see today that he may have acted with no cunning, wishing well for his own kin and ours alike. If I met him again, sir, I'd bid him to go in peace, even though I know peace now can't hold for long. But excuse me, friends, and let me go down and end my errand." Down in the pit, neither the dragon's position nor posture had changed. If her senses were warning of her proximity to strangers, and of one in particular making his way down the steep side of the pit, Carrig gave no indication of it. Or could it be that the wise and the fall of her spine had become a little more pronounced, And was there a new urgency in the hooded eye as it opened and shut? Axel could not be sure, but as he continued to gaze down at the creature, the idea came to him that the hawthorn bush, the only other thing alive in this pit, had become a source of great comfort to her, and that even now in her mind's eye she was reaching for it. Axel realized the idea was fanciful, yet the more he watched, the more credible it seemed. For how was it a solitary bush was growing in a place like this? Could it not be that Merlin himself had allowed it to grow here, so that the dragon would have a companion? Wystan was continuing his descent, his sword still unsheathed. His gaze rarely strayed from the spot where the creature lay, as if he half expected her to rise suddenly, transformed into a formidable demon. At one stage he slipped and dug his sword into the ground to avoid sliding some way down on the backside. This episode sent stones and gravel cascading down the slope, but Carrig gave no sign of response. Then Wystan was safely on the ground. He wiped his forehead, glanced up at Axel and Beatrice, and then moved towards the dragon, stopping several strides away. He then raised his sword and began to scrutinize the blade, apparently taken aback to discover it streaked with blood. For several moments Wystan remained like this, not moving, so that Axel wondered if the strange mood that had overtaken the warrior since his victory had momentarily made him forget his reason for entering the pit. But then, with something of the unexpectedness that had characterized his contest with the old knight, Wystan suddenly moved forward. He did not run, but walked briskly, stepping over the dragon's body without breaking stride, and hurried on as though anxious to reach the other side of the pit. But his sword had described a swift, low arc in passing, and Axel saw the dragon's head spin into the air and roll a little way before coming to a rest on the stony ground. It did not remain there long, however, for it was soon engulfed by the rich tide that first parted from around it, and then buoyed it up till it swam glidingly across the floor of the pit. It came to a stop at the hawthorn, where it lodged the throat up to the sky. The sight brought him back to Axel the head of the monster dog that Gawain had severed in the tunnel, and again a melancholy threatened to sweep over him. He made himself look away from the dragon, and watched instead the figure of Wystan, who had not stopped walking. The warrior was now circling back, avoiding the ever-spreading pool, and then, with his sword still unsheathed, began to climb out of the pit. "It's done, Axel," Beatrice said. "It is, princess. Yet there's still a question I wish to ask this warrior." Wystan took a surprisingly long time to climb out of the pit. When at last he appeared before them, he looked overwhelmed and not in the least triumphant. Without a word, he sat down on the blackened ground right on the rim of the pit, and at last thrust his sword deep into the earth. Then he gazed emptily, not into the pit, but beyond, at the clouds and the pale hills in the distance. After a moment, Beatrice went over to him and touched his arm gently. "We thank you for this deed, Master Wystan," she said, "and there will be many more across the land that would thank you if they were here. Why look so despondent?" "Despondent? No matter. I'll regain my spirits soon enough, mistress." Yet, just at this moment, Wystan turned away from Beatrice and once more gazed at the clouds. Then he said, "Perhaps I've been too long among you Britons, despised the cowardly among you, admired and loved the best of you, and all from a tender age. Yet now I sit here, shaking not from weariness, but at the very thought of what my own hands have done. I must soon steel my heart, or be a frail warrior for my king and what's to come." "What is this you speak of, sir?" Beatrice asked. "What further task awaits you now?" "It's justice and vengeance that await, mistress, and they'll soon hurry this way, for both are much delayed. Yet now the hour's almost upon us. I find my heart trembles like a maid's. It can only be that I've been too long among you." "I didn't fail to notice, sir," Axel said, "your earlier remark to me. You said you wished me to go in peace, yet that peace couldn't hold much longer. I wondered then what you meant by it. Even as you descended into this pit, will you explain yourself to us now?" "I see you begin to understand, Master Axel. My king sent me to destroy this she-dragon, not simply to build a monument to kin slain long ago. You begin to see, sir, that this dragon died to make ready the way for the coming conquest." "Conquest, sir?" Axel moved closer to him. "How can this be, Master Wystan? Are your Saxon armies so swelled by your cousins from overseas? Or is it that your warriors are so fierce you talk of conquest in lands well held in peace? It's true, our armies are yet meager in numbers, even in the Finlands. Yet look across the whole land. In every valley, beside every river, you'll find Saxon communities, and each with strong men and growing boys. It's from these we'll swell our ranks, even as we come sweeping westward. Surely you speak in the confusion of your victory, Master Wystan, Beatrice said. How can this be? You see yourself how in these parts it's your kin and mine that mingle village by village. Who among them would turn on neighbors loved since childhood? Yet see your husband's face, mistress. He begins to understand why I sit here as before a light too fierce for my gaze. Right enough, princess. The warrior's words make me tremble. You and I long for Carrick's-End, thinking only for our own dear memories. Yet who knows what old hatreds will loosen across the land now. We must hope that God yet finds a way to preserve the bonds between our peoples. Yet custom and suspicion have always divided us. Who knows that what will come when quick-tongued men make ancient grievances rhyme with fresh desire for land and conquest? How right to fear it, sir, Wystan said. The giant, once well buried, now stirs. When soon he arises, as surely as he will, the friendly bonds between us will prove as knots young girls make with stems of small flowers. Men will burn their neighbors' houses by night, hang children from trees at dawn. The rivers will stink with corpses bloated from their days of voyaging. Even now, as they move on, our armies will grow larger, swollen by anger and thirst for vengeance. For you Britons, it'll be as a ball of fire rolls down towards you. You'll flee or perish. And country by country, this will become a new land, a Saxon land, with no more trace of your people's time here than a flock or two of sheep wandering in the hills untended. Can he be right, Axel? Surely he speaks in a fever. He may yet be mistaken, princess, but this is no fever. The she-dragon's no more, and Arthur's shadow will fade with her. Then to Wystan he said, I'm comforted at least, sir, that to find you take no delight in these honors and horrors that you paint. I'd take delight if I could, Master Axel, for it will be vengeance justly served. Yet I'm enfeebled by my years among you, and try as I will, a part of me turns from the flames of hatred. It's a weakness that shames me. Yet I'll soon offer in my place one trained by my own hand, one with a will far cleaner than mine. You speak of Master Edwin, sir? I do. And I dare say that he'll be growing quickly more calm now that the dragon's slain and her pull gone from him. That boy has a true warrior spirit given only to a few. The rest he'll learn fast enough, and I'll train his heart well to admit no soft sentiments as I have and invaded mine. He'll show no mercy in our work ahead. Master Wystan, Beatrice said, I still don't know if you speak only in a mad fever, but my husband and I grow weak and must return to lower ground and shelter. Will you remember your promise to bury well the gentle knight? I promise to do so, mistress, though I fear that even now the birds find him. Good friends, forewarned as you are, you've time enough to escape. Take the knight's horse, ride fast from these parts. Seek your son's village if you must, but linger there no more than a day or two, for who knows how soon the flames will be lit before our country's armies. If your son will not heed your warnings, leave him and flee as far west as you can. You may yet keep ahead of the slaughter. Go now, and find the knight's horse, and should you find Master Edwin much calmed, his strange fever past, cut him free and bid him come up here to me. A fierce future now opens before him, and it's my wish he sees this place, the fallen knight and the broken she-dragon, all before his next steps. Besides, I recall how well he digs a grave with a stray stone or two. Now hurry away, gentle friends, and farewell.